And in just a few short hours today, the House of Cards on Pennsylvania Avenue came tumbling down with two Obama appointees withdrawing their names because of problems paying their taxes. Now, the American public, who was promised change, is now left wondering, well, what happened to those pledges of the most ethical administration in history? And that is our headline on this Tuesday night, day number 15 of the new Obama administration, Ethical Shortcomings. Now, the new administration is beginning to have all the scandals of a Chicago City alderman's office. Now imagine that. Now first, the new government efficiencies are Nancy Killefer withdrew her name after it was revealed that she had failed to pay taxes on her household help. Now considering that she was charged with keeping tabs on the public's money, well, that's pretty embarrassing. But then came the big blow. Tom Daschle dropped out as Secretary of Health and Human Services after similar problems paying Medicaid taxes for his driver. Now that's pretty bad for the man that's charged with leading health care reform. And remember, this is all against the background of Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner, who the administration bullied the Senate into confirming even after it was revealed that he, too, had failed to pay taxes in the past. But perhaps the worst part of this whole sordid affair is the president's empty promise of a higher standard of ethics. He promised to keep lobbyists out of the White House, and then he hired them anyway. And when faced with the embarrassing truth that the administration had nominated individuals with problems to the cabinet, well, they did nothing. Even yesterday, the president said he still stood behind Tom Daschle's nomination. Ethical behavior cannot be coerced. It can't be merely politically expedient. But that appears to be the case with Daschle. It was only after the press and your public pressure turned on another nominee's shortcomings that he finally stepped down. That is not ethical behavior. That is called self-preservation. But Daschle's behavior proved too much even for the ethically challenged to defend. By his own admission, his mistake was an embarrassment, and it was made worse this morning by the discovery of this old campaign ad that he once ran. Now remember, as you watch this, remember that Daschle's tax problems all stem from his failure to pay taxes on his chauffeur.
Among Washington's BMWs and limos is this. Since 1971, the old Pontiac has served its owner well. Sure, it's rusted, and it burns a little oil. But after 15 years and 238,000 miles, Tom Daschle still drives his old car to work every day. Maybe he's sentimental, or just cheap. Whatever the case, isn't it too bad the rest of Washington doesn't understand that a penny saved is a penny earned?
All right, so I wonder what Al Gore thinks about all that exhaust. Now, we're going to have an update on the debate over the stimulus bill and whether or not Daschle's withdrawal will impact it. That's coming up a little later in the show. We'll be joined by Senator John McCain. But first, joining me tonight with more on this political implosion for the White House is columnist. You often see him on National Review Online, Mark Stein. How are you?
Hey, great to be with you, Sean.
By the way, I heard you filling in for Rush today. Good job.
Yeah, no, I'm just the warm-up act for you, basically.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't say that. Well, first of all, this is the first time ever, really, that Barack Obama is facing some criticism.
Yeah.
He's got his back against the wall. Robert Gibbs is way out of his league.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you think they're handling it, first of all?
Well, I think it's been a pretty disastrous first 2 weeks for them. If you compare it to the Bush administration in 2000, which came in very hurriedly, if you compare it even to Clinton, or even going back to Jimmy Carter. I mean, the Tom Daschle thing, I think, was a bridge too far because he is so obviously business as usual that everything he stands for is at odds with the whole Obama message.
What do you make of this fact, and this really hasn't been discussed, if we're just going to examine this from the political vantage point, you know, this whole Daschle thing, this is not the Republicans.
No.
These are the Democrats. Now, they pushed through Geithner.
Yeah.
Nobody stopped it.
Yeah.
But the Democrats, they're the ones, you know, putting the pressure on the Obama administration. What do you make of that it's really not the Republicans here?
No, I think they understand. The Republicans, in fact, have been content to sit back. The Democrats understand that this is deeply damaging because, you know, Democrat friends, liberal friends have said to me, the Clinton sex thing was so weird back in the 90s that was in a sort of class of its own. But everybody pays taxes. You know, the old line about the Clinton thing was everybody does it. Well, in fact, everybody didn't do what Bill Clinton did. it. But everybody does pay taxes. This is tax season. And this was, the Daschle thing was shameless, because if you look at the timing of it, he didn't actually wait until he was nominated until he actually cut the check. I mean, that is not just avoidance, but even it goes beyond that to like almost public contempt for the Treasury.
But it's interesting because it was almost public contempt with Geithner.
Yeah.
But think about this. Geithner was informed by the IRS he missed 2 years, but he knew he missed 4 years, and he had signed an agreement for the compliance, knowing when he was working for the Monetary Fund.
Yeah, and you know why? I'm actually with these guys, because at heart, both Geithner and Daschle are saying, I don't want to give my money to the United States Treasury because I know better what to do with it. Yeah. And I feel sorry for Tom Daschle. He's chucked a six-figure sum down the great sucking maw of the Federal Treasury that will be no use whatsoever. And Tom Daschle, a liberal Democrat who voted for tax cuts again and again, for tax increases again and again, even he understands that his six-figure sum is just going to be wasted if you give it to the United States government.
There was one senator yesterday, I thought it was a great line, actually said, the reason the Democrats don't mind raising taxes because they don't pay them.
That's right.
So what's the difference?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, but it raises an important point because we're battling the stimulus bill. When you add the interest that we're going to put on our kids and grandkids, we're talking about 1.3 or 1.2 trillion.
1.7 trillion.
Depending on how high this goes. All this pork barrel spending, it's all repayment to every left-wing wish list and constituency. So the question is, how does this get stopped? The Democrats have the votes to pass it.
Well, I think you have to use fellas like Daschle and Geithner, because the only way the government gets money is from tax. So it can be honest and tax us today, or it can run up a $1.7 trillion deficit and tax us tomorrow. There's no other way. I mean, they can sell off the office furniture and they can sell off Tom Daschle's limousine, but that isn't actually going to get that. If you can do all that, and it's not going to cover the $1.7 trillion. So at some point, they're going to have to tax us for these vast sums of money they're spending.
I heard you at the end of Rush's show today, and you were making the point, and I made it in my own way, but I want you to make it the way you made it today, because I thought it was profound in how you made it. And that is, when has socialism ever worked?
Yeah.
And this is no longer big government, limited government in terms of the debate. This is now a debate over European socialism and free market capitalism. Yeah. But socialism's always failed.
Yeah. And
what's your point?
This is European-sized government, if this goes through, with all the problems. I mean, basically, if you're broke and unemployed now, you're going to be broke and unemployed in a year's time. This so-called phony stimulus bill is going to do nothing for you. France and Germany essentially live with permanent double-digit unemployment that Americans would be shocked if it was to happen.
Great Britain's going bankrupt.
Yeah, Britain is going bankrupt, and one reason it's going bankrupt is because it's got big government. In Wales, the government accounts for 71% of the economy. In Northern Ireland, it's 77%. Big government is where successful nations go to die. It's as simple as that.
But it is interesting, because when Ireland cut their business taxes, the economy rebounded because they were drawing all the business to Ireland.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I'd be in favour of that. If they wanted to stimulate the economy, they'd cut the corporate income tax rate in the United States at 35%. It's Ireland, in Ireland, it's 12%. If you're an American business, if you're Sean Hannity Enterprises US Inc., you might want to think about becoming Sean Hannity Enterprises Ireland Limited, because that, you'll get a two-thirds cut in taxes right there.
It's right there, and it would bring revenue. Obviously, it's bringing it to the government. It's creating jobs and opportunity. But yet, we're going in the opposite direction. All right, so you're back in for Rush tomorrow. Now, I want you to know, the first time I filled in for Rush, Rush has a golden EIB mic.
Right.
5 minutes into the filling in, I just got past the initial anxiety. The microphone fell. I hope it never happens to you.
Now that's its comment on your performance.
I don't know about that. I'm like picking it up. Back for Rush. Anyway, good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you.